Hi everyone. In today's lecture, we are going to talk about the cybersecurity threats, vulnerabilities, and attack. Right. So, to discuss this one, the basic objectives we are going to talk about the malware and malicious code, deception, and the attacks, various attacks, which are takes place in the cyber world. So, in this chapter, the threats, vulnerabilities, and attacks are the central focus of cybersecurity professionals. So, a threat is the responsibility that harmful event. The threat is the responsible of harmful event, such as an attack, will occur. So, a vulnerability is a weakness that makes a target susceptible to an attack. An attack is a the deliberate exploitation of a discovered weakness in computer information systems, either as specific targets or merely as targets of opportunity. Cyber criminals may have different motivations for selecting a target of an attack. So, cyber criminals succeed by continuously searching for and identifying systems with clear vulnerabilities. Common victims include unpatched systems or systems missing virus and spam detection. This chapter examines the most common cybersecurity attacks. Cybersecurity professionals must understand how each attack works, what it exploits, and how it affects the victim. The chapter begins by explaining the threat of malware and malicious code, and then goes into the types of deception involved with social engineering. And a cyber attack is any type of offensive maneuver used by cyber criminals to target computer information systems or computer networks or other computer devices. Cyber criminals launch offensive maneuvers against both wired and wireless networks. So we'll see what is a malware. So what is a malware? That means a malware is a malicious software, or malware is a term used to describe software designed to disrupt computer computer operations, or gain access to computer systems without the user's knowledge or permission. So, malware has become an umbrella term used to describe all hostile or intrusive software. The term malware includes computer viruses like your worms, Trojan horse, ransomware, spyware, adware, scareware, and other malicious programs. We will discuss this one by one. So, malware may be very obvious and simple to identify, or it can be very stealthy and almost impossible to detect. Almost impossible to detect. So, let us see one by one what are the types of malware are there, or malware or malicious code. In that, first we'll see what are the different types of malwares are there, as stated, that worms, trojan horse, and those things, right? So in these types of malware, the first we try to discuss the virus. So a virus is a malicious executable code which is attached to another executable file, such as a legitimate program. So most viruses require end user initiation. The end user initiation is required. for these viruses, and they can activate at a specific time or date. So the computer viruses usually spread in one of three different ways. This one. So they spread in one of three different ways, as said. So one way is the removable media. So removable media means you may use, like, this the USB drives or something. And second one is downloads of the internet. Downloads of internet. And the third one is that you form the email attachments. So these are three ways. Usually, these viruses, the usually spread in the computers or end devices. So this viruses is requires the end user initiation, because if end users of your laptops or desktops or servers, if they find any kind of this USB drives, if they attach this USB drives to your computer, then the code which is associated with the legitimate program can start executing, right? So the viruses can be the harmless and simply display a picture, or they can be destructive, such as those that modify or delete the data. So in order to avoid detection, a virus mutates. So the simple act of opening a file can trigger a virus. So a boot sector or file system virus infect the USB flash drives. They can infect these USB flash drives and can spread to the system's hard disk, the hard disk drive. So, executing a specific program can activate a program virus. Once the program virus is active, it will usually infect other programs on the computer or other computers on the network. You may heard the virus like Melissa virus, the Melissa virus. It was an example of a virus spread via email. And Melissa affected tens of thousands of users and caused an estimation of around 1.2 billion in damage. So this is one type of your malware. We'll see the another type of malware is worm. So the worms are malicious code that replicates by independently exploiting vulnerabilities in networks. Worms usually slow down networks. They usually slow down the networks. So whereas a virus requires a host program to run, worms can run themselves. So, other than the initial infection, worms no longer require user participation. After a worm affects a host in the network, it is able to spread very quickly over the network. So, worms share similar patterns. So, they all have an enabling vulnerabilities, a way to propagate themselves, and they all contain a payload. So worms are usually responsible for some of the most uh, devastating attack on the internet. For example, in 2001, the code red worm, you might have heard about this, the code red worm, which infected around 658 servers within the 19 hours. So within this 19 hours, the worm infected over 300,000 servers. 300,000 servers. So this is, the worm is something different than your virus. Viruses affects the end users devices, whereas worms affects the networks, the end users which are connected to the networks, right? So another type of your malware is Trojan type, the Trojan malware. A Trojan horse is malware that carries out malicious operations under the guise of a desired operation, such as playing an online game. So, this malicious code exploits the privileges of the users that runs it, that administrative privileges. So, a Trojan horse differs from a virus because the Trojan binds itself to non executable files such as image files, your audio files, or the games. So, we'll see this with an animation that, let me quickly play of this. You can see the different types of malwares, how it works. So the first one is virus. So the primary vulnerabilities for end user workstations are viruses. So that virus goes through the internet. A virus is a malicious software, as explained, which executes a specific unwanted and the often harmful function on a computer. So which is attached with the legitimate program when it is going to execute by the end user at the host level, whereas your Trojan where your worm is executable arbitrary code and install the copies of itself in the memory of infected computers. So the main purpose of worm is to automatically replicate itself and spread across the network from system to your system, right? So it goes through the network, means whatever end devices are connected, all those end devices will be connected to the network, all those end devices will be infected. And another one is Trojan horse, as described, right? So it is a, non-self-replacing type of your malware. So it often contains malicious code that is designed to look like something else, so such as your legitimate application or file. But when an infected application or file is downloaded and opened, the Trojan horse can attack the end device from within it. So this is another type of the malware. Okay, so these are three different ways how this malware and the malicious codes are affecting the end devices, affecting the end devices, right? So let me quickly go to the next type of your malware is, you find the logic bomb. So we'll see what this logic bomb is do. Okay. So in this logic bomb, as it described, that the logic bomb is a malicious program that uses a trigger to awaken the malicious code. So for example, here triggers can be the dates, times, and other programs running or the deletion of a user account. So the logic bomb remains inactive until that trigger event happens. Once activated, a logic bomb implements a malicious code that causes a harm to a computer. A logic bomb can sabotage database records. It can sabotage the your database records. One, and uh, it can erase the files on your end devices, and it attack the operating system. It can attack the operating system or its applications. So cybersecurity specialists recently discovered logic bombs that attack and destroy the hardware components also. The hardware components also. uh, in any of the workstations or in any of the end devices are the servers, which including the cooling fan of your server or your laptop or desktops, and the CPU or memory, the hardware devices, and the hard drives, the secondary memory, that are hard disk drives, and the power supplies. Power supplies. So this logic bomb overdrives these devices until they overheat or fail. This is another type of malware, right? So let us see the next type of your malware. Another type of malware is ransomware. You might have heard about this. So ransomware holds a computer system or the data it contains, and captive this the ransomware captive and this computer or the data it contains until the target makes a payment. So ransomware usually works by encrypting the data. It works with the encrypting the data in the computer with a key. For encryption purpose is use a key, the private key or public key. Okay, generally they use the private key method, right? So when it is encrypting the data in the computer with the a key which is unknown to the legitimate user of that workstation or your server, so the user must pay a ransom to the criminals to remove the restriction of that. So, some other versions of ransomware can take advantage of specific system vulnerabilities to lock down the system. Ransomware propagates as a Trojan horse and is the result of a downloaded file or some software weaknesses. So the payment through an untraceable payment system is always the criminal's goal. So once the victim pays, the criminal supplies a program that decrypts the files or sends an unlock code. So to know more about this ransomware, to read more about this ransomware, you please click on this link to get more information about this ransomware. So let us see another type of malware is backdoor and rootkits. Backdoor and rootkits. So you can see, like, the backdoor, how you are going to get back. So backdoor refers to the program or code introduced by a criminal who has compromised a system. The backdoor bypasses the normal authentication used to access a system. A few common backdoor programs are, you might have heard about these, net buses, and the back, or if another one is the back orifice. So, which both allow remote access to unauthorized system users. The purpose of backdoor is to grant the cyber criminals future access to the system even if the organization fixes the original vulnerability used to attack the system. Right? So, the purpose of the backdoor, as said, is to just grant these cyber criminals the future access. The future access. Correct? So, usually, criminals have authorized users unknowingly run a Trojan horse program on their machine to install the backdoor. Whereas your rootkits, this rootkit modifies the operating system to create a backdoor. So attackers then use the backdoor to access the computer remotely. So most rootkits take advantage of software vulnerabilities to perform privileged escalation and modify system files. Privilege escalation takes advantage of programming errors or design flaws to grant the criminals elevated access to network resources and data. It is also common for rootkits to modify system forensics and monitoring tools, making them very hard to detect. So often, a user must wipe and reinstall the operating system of a computer infected by these rootkits. So these are few, and what are the defending mechanism that requires for this, the defending mechanism which requires for this type of malware is, one is the defending mechanism, one is your antivirus. The antivirus program is one defending one. So it is a simple step can help defending against all forms of malware so far whatever we have seen. It may be logic bomb, ransomware, trojan, virus, worms. Okay. So in this antivirus, the majority of antivirus suits catch most widespread forms of malware. However, cyber criminals develop and deploy new threats on a daily basis. So therefore, the key to an effective antivirus solution is to keep the signature updated. A signature is like a your fingerprint, so it defines the characteristics of a piece of malicious code. And another defending against this malware is up to date. Okay, up to date this software. Up to date the software. So many forms of malware achieves their objectives through exploitation of vulnerabilities in software. So both in the operating system, your OS in the operating system, and the applications, the apps. So, although operating system vulnerabilities were the main source of problem, today's application level vulnerabilities pose the greatest risk also. So, unfortunately, while operating system vendors are becoming more and more responsive to patching, most application vendors are not patching. Operating system vendors are sending the patching per application, vendors are not doing any patching type of. So these are two different defending against these malwares. It may be your ransomware, logic bomb, backdoor attack, or your virus, worms, and these things. Okay. Yeah, so with this, I'd like to stop this session of these types of malware, and we'll discuss the remaining the deception in the next session.